Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and it is a cold, damp, chilly, rainy evening as I'm recording this. And I was like, it's raining outside, it's fall. What is the most appropriate thing to watch? And the answer is Natsume's Book of Friends, which I'm not gonna lie, I've been wanting to hold back because we're on like the 2 episode warning before we're at the end of season 7. We only have this episode in next week, and then we are spending like at least 1 week to review the manga and things like that. But I'm like, I don't want to be caught up with this series, but at the same time, I want to watch it so bad, and that's such a conundrum to have an issue with, right? So I've got some comments I want to talk about in terms of episode 7 and episode 8 of season 7, and thank you all so much for giving comments and for expressing how much you're enjoying this season. I feel like it's a testament to Natsume's Book of Friends that this series has been going on for so long, like with so many long gaps when the anime seasons are coming out, that when you get episodes like this and people are still like so excited and so ready to talk about them, it's a testament to how great this series is. So loving that. But anyway, Stripes 1216 for episode 7 says, so I'm just going to point out something unrelated for fun. We love that. But Isamu is in his early 20s, like, you know, Matoba and Notori. So we have the clan leader of the most powerful exorcist family, the only active member of a failing clan, and a self-made exorcist, which is also Notori, and a guy who does not believe in the supernatural so much that he goes out of his way to prove it's all fake, while attracting yokai here and there. And that is our young adults cast for Natsume Book of Friends. You know what? That's really interesting because, yeah, Isamu is kind of he completes the trinity of Natsume's adult possible ships. That Tanema is fleeing off as fast as he can. But yeah, so you have like the leader of an exorcist clan that's at the height of its power. You have the only active member of a failing clan, and some guy that's like so determined to prove that nothing exists that he's actively going out and trying to like do a Zach Baggins ghost hunter mission. So what a range. What a spectrum. Only in Natsume's Book of Friends could we have such a thing. But yeah, I absolutely think that's hilarious. So thank you for pointing it out, Stripes. Sunspots left some comments for episode 7 and 8 that I want to go over. For episode 7, Sunspots says, I agree, it's really fun. We can barely tell which yokai are supposed to be powerful or not based on their designs. And I like that they let the yokai be because it's just hitching a ride back home. For episode 7. Now, I really like that too, and that's something I've really enjoyed about this series so much, is that when we started out the series so long ago as season 1, I was like, oh, the bigger and badder and more impressive, or the more sophisticated the yokai looks, the more powerful it is. But like in the episode with Matoba back in episode 6, that super powerful yokai looked like the most basic NPC that you'd ever see in a video game, and yet it was insanely strong. So I like that this series tells you and has been consistent with, you just don't know with yokai. They may look simplistic, but they might be super powerful, or they may look like they're the easiest thing in the world and then end up being like extremely elegant and whatever. So I thought that was interesting. But Sunspots also says, I adore the way that Nishimura is actually so acclimated to Natsume's oddness that something like this didn't really faze him. And I love how careful he is with the doll, the sweetest bean. I really appreciate that this manga and anime focus on Natsume's friendships with wonderful people. Yeah, Nishimura, we're going to talk about him with this comment that another YouTuber left, but I do really love that Natsume has found like his people. He's found the Fujiwaras. He's found like his friends like Taki and Tanema, who he can share his yokai, adventures with, but also he has Nishimura and Kitamoto who don't know about those adventures. And there is a part of me that we'll talk about the next comment. There's a part of me that wants Kitamoto and Nishimura to know about Natsume and the yokai. But with that being said, Polytree added with this comment from episode 8, I was so sad when the doll was gone. I wanted the doll to be Nishimura's friend, quote, forever, and it being his connection to the yokai world. Not gonna lie, I did ship it. Yeah, I don't ship Nishimura and Natsume, like the real Natsume, but the doll and Nishimura, I'm here for it. The ships are valid. And I 100% agree that Nishimura would be fine with the yokai. He's so positive and optimistic, and he's so cute. I want him to be better friends with Natsume and add a little splash of light. I love how at the end he realizes Natsume is different than he is at school, but loves him anyway. Yeah, and so that's the thing. I love that Nishimura is understanding that Natsume puts on a front at school and isn't quite the same when he's not at school around them in that capacity. And there's a part of me that wants Nishimura and Kitamoto to know about the yokai, but then after reading this comment and thinking back over episode 8, I realized there is a part of me that likes that Natsume has this very broad variety of friends. Like he has quote unquote friends with the exorcists, with Notori. Now Matoba is, I don't know if friend is the word we describe, antagonistic acquaintance is probably the better term for Matoba. But he has these people he knows through the exorcist world that he has a certain connection with. Then he has obviously the yokai, like Madara, like Hinoue, like Mizuzu, all that, the mid-ranks. Then he has Taki and Tanama, who he can share all of his yokai adventures with. Then he has the Fujiwaras, who provide him this stable home life and are accepting of him but don't know about the yokai and all of that, to our knowledge. And then you have Nishimura and Kitamoto, who don't know about the yokai but they're still accepting of him. I feel like in Natsume's case you need a variety of friends, because if everybody knows, it's all this pressure that's added to you, and what you have to do is like this mediator. But if you have people that don't know but are still supportive, that is so important. And I feel like it's a good lesson for us as people that we need a variety of friends. It's good to have like a best friend. It's good to have a close circle of like 2 or 3 friends that you know you can rely upon, that accept you, that love you. It's so good to have that. And it's so good to have family. Even if it's found family, it's so good to have family you can rely upon, right? But I think it's also important that you don't just limit yourself to like 4 people to rely upon in any circumstance. You need friends from other angles, whether it's work, whether it's school, whether it's your job. You need other friends that are in different capacities, a support system. So I think Natsume's Book of Friends is a really good example of that being possible and being effective, right? So I love that. But anyway, thank you all so much for the comments. I really appreciate them. I have talked enough. But with that being said, we're on episode 11 of this series, and we're on the penultimate episode of the season. I'm glad there's 12 episodes this season. When they announced season 7, I didn't know how many episodes there were. And when we got into a couple seasons, I know they had OVAs, so they technically were more than 11 episodes, but I was like, oh, only 11 episodes. Oh no. And so I was like, we're going to get there super fast. But yeah, I feel like I'm glad we have 12 episodes. I wish we had an OVA. Wish we had no OVA, but I'm just delaying the hiatus, right? I'm delaying the hiatus. But anyway, I've talked enough. We need to get moving. So we're going to get this episode set up. Of course, as you know, we are using the timers and all that jazz. We've only got 2 more times we have to do this. But in any case, we are going to start episode 11 of Natsume's Book of Friends. And we are going to do that here, y'all. Here in 3, 2, 1. And let's go. You think I'm going to skip the intro when we got it only 2 more times? No. Look, do I think that we are going to get information about the grandpa by the end of this season? Unless it's in the next 2 episodes with Hiroshima, probably not. But, I mean, series, if you don't want to make me wait years until we get more information, it'd be nice if you gave us something. I feel like last week's double set of episodes was such a tease. They were like, oh, we're going to Hiroshima. And I was like, ooh, information possibly about the grandpa. No. Instead we have Matoba, which granted, the last 2 episodes are 2 of my favorite in the whole series. But still, I wanted a little bit more with the grandpa. You can't tease a girl and then make her wait. Aww. It's also hilarious to me now that we know that Chobi is a dragon, that Chobi is just a dragon riding on a dragon. What do we do? Uh, freaking adorable. Shut up. Oh. Is this Suda? What? What? Nice fit, Natsume. Oh. Now you're talking. Madara's become quite the foodie. Oh. Oh, he automatically knew. He's like if a Mankey and Cousin It had a baby. The first. Tell me more. Tell me all the secrets. Ooh. Yes. Let's do this. Let's do this. Oh. Oh my gosh. I love this. Yes. What was she thinking? What was her thoughts? What were her thoughts? Tell me your name. This is great. Oh, wow. Interesting. Oh, ew. Oh, well, maybe a lick-a-tongue of Mankey and Cousin It. This is Suda, isn't it? Only he can sound so handsomely bored. Oh, wow. Uh, uh. Also, the fact that she was like sleeping on the ground. Oh, wow. Oh. But he has all these papers on him. It feels good to be alone. Mmm. That yokai looks exactly like the yokai. Oh, it's older from last episode. Oh. Why does she kind of look like Yorishima? Uh. Oh. 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 Damn, Yuri blocked. Damn. Wow, Reiko would have. Mm. Mm. Oh. She kept coming back. Mm. Oh. Huh. Hmm. Interesting. She has the same eyes as Yorishima, kind of. That's why I thought that. Everybody's watching now. Go talk to her, Reiko. Ha! 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 Oh my god. Ha! Mmm. Oh. She's gonna nap there, so none of them bother her. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yuri bait, as it would be. Oh, a heart of iron. Or maybe well, she probably wouldn't know that he was trying to do that. Oh. Well, maybe not, unless she married. Oh. Ha! Hmm. Oh. Oh. And Reiko's like the yokai saying, sure. Yeah. Yes. She modeled it after that encounter. And she's gonna be like a natural, like, yeah, like instantly could play softball and. Mmm. Ah. She remembered. Mm-hmm. Is something bad gonna happen to this girl? Is something bad gonna happen and that's why she picks up her strategy? Something bad's gonna happen to this girl and that's why Reiko's gonna adopt her strategy. Maybe not. Hmm. Huh. Huh. And they clearly go to different schools because they have different uniforms on. Younger? Oh, hell no. Oh. Oh. She's gonna die, isn't she? Hmm. Hmm. I like how different she is from Natsume. We'll talk about that. Oh, really? Oh, he's just been like, yeah, he's just been like having the tea and observing. Hmm. Sometimes. Oh. Hmm. Oh, Madara. Oh. No. Because he does the same thing with other yokai. No, say it. Say it. Say what you mean to say. Oh. He's like, that's me. Oh. Hmm. That sadness. Ooh. Oh. Hmm. No, you didn't. Right. Oh, shit. Oh. You there? What do you mean nothing serious? Has she been like coughing up blood? Mmm. Oh. Oh, now. Oh, okay, she came back. Or has she been practicing throwing stones that she could beat her? Is that why her hands are red? She's been practicing. Oh. Oh. Mmm. She wants you to be her friend. But once she says that name, what's going to happen? Oh. Mmm. Oh. Oh. Ah. Oh God. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Mm. And she's probably just gonna feel sad that she said those things about her in front of her. Oh. Oh no, that's not what she meant. Oh. Ooh. Madara. Oh. Oh no. Oh. Oh. You were not getting bored. You're sad. Oh wow. 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 Ha. Oh. 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 Wow. And it started out as just that. Oh. Oh. What have you? Mm. And she never came back. But did the other girl come back? Oh. They made her sick. Oh. But she couldn't hear you. Oh. Oh. She didn't come back. Oh. A small fragment of Reiko. Hmm. Ah. Oh. Wow. The very first page. Damn. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Like the OP. Oh my gosh. And then the AD. A very scary girl. Oh. Oh, sweetheart. Oh. 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 You're not going to make me cry, Natsume's Book of Friends. Not today. Not today. Look, if you didn't have a dry eye after watching this episode, I wouldn't blame you. I feel Natsume's Book of Friends has drained me of all of my tears, and so unless it's like something triggering, which I feel like I really cry when it's something to do with like an animal dying or an old person or aging or the temporalness of life. But honestly, we know that Reiko has long since passed, so that we've kind of had 7 seasons to build it up. But if you teared up during this episode, I was like, oh, that line where Natsume's like, I wish you could see it, Madara. I was like, oh, and Madara's just like, I could fly around and find it. This episode was amazing. This is the kind of episode that I am so glad we're getting before I'm potentially going on a hiatus with this series. So I wanted to look up what kind of flowers we had in this episode, because I was like, aren't they morning glories? And they are, which morning glories have a lot of symbolism in Japan. They symbolize summer's fleeting beauty and the transient nature of life, which I'm like, that's perfect for Natsume's Book of Friends, right? Perfect for it. 100%. Apparently, I went on Reddit because I was like, what? I originally wanted to say like Natsume's Book of Friends. I've only got one episode left until I'm caught up with the anime, so I was like, surely Reddit isn't going to give me a whole lot of spoilers, which I didn't find any spoilers, luckily. But they said there's a thread, The Blue Flowers and Tell Me Your Name, which is the title of this episode, said that they could be inspired by the magical sea of blue Nemophilia flowers at Hitachi Seaside Park in Japan. And the image of it looks exactly like the hillside. That is gorgeous. That is absolutely stunning. And it said, and somebody had noted that says, the anime used a different flower that looks like a dwarf morning glory. It made me smile so big because I have that plant in my garden. I'm going to start calling it the Natsume plant now. I love that. I love the idea that the little blue dwarf morning glory is a symbol for Natsume, because it talks about the transience of life and how it's fleeting and everything. And speaking of fleeting, this comment down below, right below the image, really got me. It's from Sky Corcher on Reddit saying, I wonder with the flower if it's because Reiko gave up on a long-lasting relationship. The fleeting greetings, the encounters that always end in farewells. Perhaps it is then that Reiko finally embraced her fate, to bask in the happiness of the fleeting light rather than muddle alone in the darkness. Such is the nature of the Book of Friends, a fleeting friend of a fleeting encounter. A Sky Corcher, I mean, just keep writing the poetry. Just keep it coming out. Just keep it. I'm going to gobble it all up for you. But I feel like that is so indicative of the theme of this episode, and we're going to talk about it. But also was in Tell Me Your Name yokai voice actor It has to be Suda. It has to be. We're gonna get his name in a minute, but I'm like, that has to be Suda's voice. Only Suda can sound so handsomely bored. My dog's probably barking at a deer or something outside. But the yokai talks about sometimes they can sense what is inside the minds of those around them, as it only lasts a moment. So I usually don't care. But that day, yes. So we start out where the Shihodani, so that's what it was, Shihodani Yokai VA. Shihodani Yokai, who plays that yokai in Natsume? It has to be Suda, right? It has to be. Natsume's Book of Friends, VA. Oh, come on now. I want to know who is voice acting. Come on. Let me see. Does Suda voice act in Natsume's Book of Friends? Tell me the answers. Come on. Damn it. Okay. Yes. Okay. We got Suda on here. We're going to find out, did he voice act in Natsume's Book of Friends? Tell us he did. We're going to go back 2024, right? Was it not him? Was it not? I'm so sad. I could have swore that was Suda that was voice acting as that yokai. I feel so let down. Okay, I guess it wasn't him. I could have sworn that it was him. So, fine. That's really sad. Fine, whatever. Y'all are probably going to tell me who it is down in the comments below. But anyway, I really like the voice actor of Shiodani. So like the great monster of Shiodani, and my dogs are going to be annoying at my feet. It keeps itself hidden, but it's been showing itself lately. I think it might want its name back. Okay, so, I mean, the question is, how did Natsume know about Shiodani and it getting the voice back? I feel like this is a manga chapter episode. We'll find out later for sure. But, I mean, I'm sure the manga gives some reason why they're all the way out there. Also, Natsume's fit with the yellow. Natsume wears a lot of yellow, like especially like baby, like buttercup yellow. Makes him look like a flower, which I really like. I also like the Madara is getting a little bit wiser on the, well, I'll bribe you with food. Madara's like, that's not going to work forever. So I love that. But anyway, and he instantly like goes after a fish. So he's like, while we're here, I'd like to return the names of any yokai in the area. I'm the only one here who wrote my name onto the paper, and that's when he appears. You're the grandson of Reiko. I kind of like the yokai's design. It's like an amalgamation of a lot of yokai we've seen in this show. But then like when it got mad and those red eyes were like, meh, it looked really fun. But like somehow Midorikawa finds a way to make these yokai that don't have mouths and have just the most basic eyes completely get your heart wrapped around their little tendrils. Like, it's just so good. And I also like the idea that he has bits of paper, it looks like, coming off his body. So the big question is, we find out he was the very first yokai put into the Book of Friends. The very first yokai. Now, where did she get the Book of Friends from? Doesn't matter. It's just a random book. It's just as far as we know, it's just a random book. And that establishes a couple of things. It establishes that Reiko was insanely powerful, had a lot of spiritual prowess, and her just writing a yokai's name in the book bound it. So, you know, Natsume has struggled with being different his entire life and being able to see yokai. Did Natsume's mom have the same thing happen with her? We don't know. We don't know hardly anything about Natsume's mom because she died when he was a baby. So we don't really know a lot about her, and the dad didn't talk about it to Natsume. So we don't know. We can assume, but we don't know. I would really like to know about Natsume's mom, especially with her being Reiko's daughter. Like, I would love to know that, but we can't find that out right now. But then, as it comes to find out, I wonder if Natsume's family are just naturally, like, were they a former exorcist family that were really spiritually powerful? it was Reiko, an orphan that was just bummed from distant family member to distant family member that weren't exorcists, and so they didn't understand her powers, and they just kept bumming her around, kind of like what happened with Natsume. We don't know. What was Reiko like as a mom? The fact that Reiko is so emotionally distant and believes that no one cares for her or would be her friends because of her reputation, I can't quite imagine what she would have been like as a mother. I really can't. I don't know. So I'm curious, did Reiko like give Natsume's mom away to someone else to take care of? I'm so curious. I'm so curious about that, about how that all went down. And we're not going to find that out next week. So that's going to be an ongoing mystery. But I have a lot of questions about Reiko as a parent. We'll see where that goes. But we find out that the exorcists, Notori's questioning of the Book of Friends as being this forbidden magic object. I mean, it is a magic object, but when you find out that its origin story is just that Reiko was heartbroken about losing a potential friend and realized the magic of that moment when you have a friend, even if it's for a short time, and she decided to recreate that magic over and over again by having all of these yokai write their names into the book for her to keep, binding them to her. But also it's like because she had a broken heart from losing that one friend that she really didn't lose. She just ran away too quickly. And then Reiko repeats that cycle with every yokai she meets because she doesn't... It all comes back to the fact that Reiko does not want the yokai to... It's like, I can't have my heart broken if I never give you it in the first place. And she had her heart broken by the friend, but the problem was she misunderstood the situation, and the yokai is a yokai, so he couldn't quite explain to her, well, maybe your friend's just sick, and she'll come back in a few more days, give it some more time. Reiko just assumed because of what had happened in the past with everyone else she's encountered that Soko was going to be the exact same way. And the thing that really got me was that there was a moment where Natsume's like, I was like that too at one point. If you think back on it this way, what if like Tanama, for example, we know from Tanama, whenever he encounters negativity from a yokai, he's like out cold for 2 days. If Natsume was like Reiko and Tanama was like, out sick at his dad's house for a few days, Natsume could have assumed, well, he doesn't want to be my friend again. He doesn't like me. I guess I'll just run away. Natsume from season 1 would have done that. So it's so interesting to see just how different Reiko was from Natsume, and to see it's bittersweet is the best word for it, because on the one hand, it kind of cemented to Reiko that no one, because of her reputation, no one would like her or would stay friends with her or love her, which begs the question, did she get with an exorcist or with Natsume's grandfather and assume that he would abandon her too, and then after their tryst, she left him and then found out she was pregnant and had Natsume's mom, thinking that he would never, stay with her? That's a big possibility, given to how she reacts to this situation. And she just assumes that's her fate. Yeah, it's a very big possibility. And who knows, he could have died or something could have happened, and then she really thought that she was alone, But it paints such this episode gives such a clarification on why Reiko thinks the way that she does, why she, she's kind of like a yokai at the beginning, and where she doesn't want to have anything involved with her, and she kind of views herself as an other away from the other humans. But then she befriends Soko and realizes that she kind of likes this friendship and she wants to talk about her. But then the moment she, it's like this whole movie was like a rom-com. Like the moment the bad information comes out, like it's like She's All That, where the moment the bet comes out, Rachel Lee Cook is like, I need to step back, and Freddie Prinze Jr. realizes he did something wrong. It's like that moment, which, giving us some doomed Yuri in this episode. Of course you would. Of course you would, Natsume's Book of Friends. Which we find out Soko did love Reiko. Now, whether Soko's love was romantic or just platonic friend love, it's not clarified. You could take it either way, I suppose. I'm sure in the Japanese language, there's the way it was said. He's like, this is the first yokai that Reiko made write its name. And Natsume's like, great, found you, glad you're here. So can you, get this is for my dog. It's like, can you tell me about my grandma? And luckily, to Natsume's benefit, this yokai's like, yes, to pass the time that I have infinite amount of, I would. And it's kind of tsundere-ish of the maybe tsundere is not the right word, but it's kind of like tongue-in-cheek for the yokai to be like, well, yes, to pass the time, I'll tell you about Reiko. And I'm like, you've been begging to talk to someone for years about this whole thing. Don't even act like you're not, right? I'll tell you the time Reiko came to this forest. And then he says, he sees what they're thinking. He's like, what if he's a bad guy? Wow, what a pain. So I like that he points out Natsume's inner thought was, what if this turns out to be like a bad story? Which, it's interesting to see that Natsume has like a little bit of pessimism still attached to him about this whole situation, even though he doesn't show it. He's like, your thoughts find their way inside of me. And Madara's like, I was giving you those thoughts. He's like, it was upsetting enough that I hid myself deep in the forest. It's interesting that we find out this yokai is kind of comparable to Reiko from the start, where he kept hearing all of these unwanted thoughts, so he hid himself in the forest so he could escape them. And Reiko kept seeing all of these unwanted presences, which were the yokai, so she started isolating herself. And they talked about her. I love this, is called Tell Me Your Name. A child of man, dodged like a dancing butterfly and kept on walking. Going back to that Reddit comment, I love what we get from the change of Reiko, because it doesn't seem on the surface like Reiko changes too much from start to finish in this episode, but she undergoes a massive change. She goes from just running away from the yokai, dodging them, not making any effort to be near them, not wanting to associate, and just being like, no, never mind. She goes from that to having these brief encounters with each one, just enough to savor the light from that experience, and then taking that light and running off before it can be dimmed or before it can become extinguished. Which you know why she's like that, because she had a taste of true friendship and she felt like she herself drove it away, when we, the audience, know that's not the case. And Natsume now knows that that's not the case. And I kind of like what the yokai said, where he's like, you know, if you're her grandson, part of her, even a tiny little fragment, dwells inside of you, which I do believe is true. I'm glad this show makes Natsume and Reiko very different. They're very different people, but they kind of have a lot of similarities in their upbringing and their encountering with yokai, etc. And I love that concept of, if there's a little bit of Reiko left in Natsume, I love that, because that makes this entire series have that much more connection. It's not just Natsume giving back all the names that his grandmother collected in this book, you know, so the yokai will leave him alone. But it's also the idea of he's reliving all of his grandmother's encounters, realizing all of these connections that she made, but also allowing, if part of her is inside of Natsume, allowing her to get closure with all of these fleeting friendships. And the thing that's crazy about it is, yeah, sure, some of these yokai, once you give the names back, they disappear and are never seen again. But then there's others we've seen reoccurring, and there's also friendships that have been made and relationships that have been made, and the yokai are like, hey, if you ever need me, Labyrinth style, like, you know, should you need us? Yeah, should you need us, you know, then we'll be there. So it's just, I love it. And so I love the idea that this yokai's like, if you keep making noise, I'll eat you. So, and he has like the lick-a-tongue, which blah. He's like, I drove away any yokai that found their way into my territory. Kind of like what Reiko was doing, and lived his life at his own pace. And then he bumped into Reiko, and Reiko's like, oh, fine, I'll leave if you want your spot back. And he's like, I would see this child of man. Whenever a yokai tried to bother her, she would gracefully dodge them. She's just like me. And I like the idea that he points out it feels good to be alone. Like, he and Reiko start out in the same place where they both enjoy the loneliness that they have. They like the isolation. They like being the lone wolf character, which, to be fair, yeah, there is some benefits to being alone. Sometimes I feel like we need to be alone a couple times, you know, to meditate, to self-reflect, to cleanse ourselves, to clear our minds, whatever. But the yokai realizes, just like Reiko realizes, that there's such benefits to having friends. and to making those connections. And they kind of long for that connection. We as existing beings long for that connection, right? So then we meet Soko. And I was like, it was so interesting because immediately Soko's like, oh, hi, friend. What's your name? And Reiko's like, I don't want to talk to you. Bye. And for a second, I was like, Natsume would never do that. But then I'm like, well, season 1, Natsume would do that. Seasons 2 and up, I don't know. I feel like once Natsume started making friends and realizing, and a lot of what Reiko's doing is putting up a barrier as self-defense, putting up a barrier as a coping mechanism to be like, no, I'm not going to get you involved because I'll just end up getting my heart broken. And Natsume was doing that too. But once you figure out there's a friend you can trust. And what's interesting is the difference when Natsume became friends with Taki and Tanema. I think what really helped Natsume was that they could see or interact with the yokai in a similar fashion to Natsume through either the circle or through sensing their presence or seeing the reflection of the lake or whatever for Tanema in his house. And because there was that connection, Natsume didn't have to feel like he needed to run away. And so it's just really sad because if Reiko had found a friend that could see yokai like she could, and maybe his grandfather, Natsume's grandfather, was that person. Maybe. Or maybe Reiko ran in with the... Although I feel like, just from what we've seen with Reiko and her personality, I feel like she would have none of the exorcists. Like Nana saying all them, she'd be like, oh, hell no, I ain't got no time for you all. No, thank you. Now, Natsume's grandfather, if he was an exorcist, and he was like the one person she ended up liking, because she has talked about somebody that has come around town and she teases and everything. I'm like, that seems like an exorcist. Seems like the grandfather. So I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But she wants Soko to leave, and she tells Soko to go home, like a yokai, and Madara points out the total rejection. But the child came back. And so is also said here, like it just said high school on there. It was just a badge that said high school. That's all we got. It has a little leaf on it and everything. I do like the fact that we see that Soko and Reiko's, their school uniforms, they tell us later that they're from different towns. But that makes it even more heartbreaking because, at least with Nijimura and Kitamoto and Taki and Tanema, they're all at the same school. So if a student isn't showing up, like if Reiko had been at the same school as Soko and then she didn't show up those 2 days and then Reiko went back to school, she could have, out of curiosity asked the kids at school, be like, hey, has Soko been in class? And they would have been like, no, she's sick. And then Reiko would have put 2 and 2 together and been like, oh, well, that's why she didn't meet up at the meeting spot because she got sick. But because they don't go to the same school, there's no way of Reiko to know that. So it's literally like the twist of fate, the most tragic thing. And the fact that Reiko didn't wait one more day. Rule of 3, Reiko. Rule of 3. You gotta wait till day 3. And then leave. 48 hours. You can be sick for 48 hours. It's that 3rd day that's critical. So she came back. I thought that Soko looked similar to Yorishima. I don't know if that's the case or not, or if it's just her eyes. She also, though, kind of looks like the yokai from the library episode with Kitamoto, so could just be a design thing. But she tries the child of man, perhaps. And the yokai says, perhaps that child of man had a heart of iron, for I never heard her thoughts. I feel like that's so interesting because, again, talking about how Natsume and Reiko are different, Natsume is very strong as a character. He's mentally and physically against yokai strong. But I feel very unlike Reiko, Natsume is easy to infiltrate and find out what his heart is saying. That's why whenever he releases the names of the Book of Friends yokai, he instantly sees what their inner mind is and they can see into him as well. So it's like Natsume's just kind of the polar opposite of Reiko, but also so similar to her. And she's like, she would just hang out and let the girl stick around and then kind of protect her. So Morinaga Soko, meaning Azure Child. Azure Child. Morinaga Soko. I don't think we've seen that name, Morinaga, anywhere. And so then they play the game. And it's just the setup of the Book of Friends. And Natsume knows exactly what this setup is. Yep. And that's it. But just like a yokai, Reiko kept coming back. The only thing is, what's interesting is that Soko ended up kind of claiming Reiko's heart in a way. Not necessarily romantically by any means, although if Reiko was a bisexual queen, I would be all for it. But I feel like Reiko just finally had found a friend. And then the moment she started talking about how the other kids were saying that Reiko was dangerous, that Reiko was like, shit, if I tell her that it's my name, what am I going to do? So she says, I'm finally used to my new house and I'm starting to make other friends. And at that point, I got worried that the girl was going to stop coming around, maybe, because Reiko doesn't have any other friends and it doesn't seem like she has a stable home life. And this girl has those two things. So would she stick around and talk to Reiko? She's like, I'm thinking of planting some kind of flower in the yard. And she's like, please come over and see my yard. I wonder if she ends up getting related to Fujiwara's. I wonder if she ends up being related to the Fujiwaras and Natsume helping to sow, Toko's garden ends up becoming a way of that being fulfilled, right? Because if a tiny part of Reiko is inside of her, if Natsume finds out that Soko and Toko, I mean, those names aren't very far apart. I don't know how that works, but if we find out that Soko is related to Toko or is like her mom or something, and then we see Natsume gardening in that garden and fulfilling that wish, that would be really cool. I don't know if that will happen or if we get anything out of that. But yeah, there's a clearing here in the forest where pretty flowers bloom. I lived in that forest. And so then she's like, someday I would love to take you to see it. And then the yokai says, I lived in that forest a long time ago, but I never heard of such a field of flowers. And so the yokai starts getting curious and they're like, I kind of want to go see those field of flowers. Like, what kind of flower is going to bloom in Soko's yard? What kind of flowers is Reiko talking about? Like this yokai's getting really involved in their, in their lives and what they're doing. This yokai's like eating the popcorn and getting really involved. I mean, it's like, I could sense Soko's thoughts sometimes. She was afraid of everyone becoming angry and upset at her. She was searching for a place to be alone. But she had so much fun with being with Reiko and wanted so badly to be her friend. The moment that Madara closed his eyes and sank into the grass, I can't tell if Madara wanted to be Reiko's friend as well, or if Madara knew all too well the feeling of wanting a friend. Maybe he was relating to Reiko in that moment and being like, foolish human and all that. But that's funny because Madara has become friends with Natsume over time. So interesting. Soko loved her. And Natsume's like, oh. And I feel like Natsume absorbing all this information, realizing that Soko loved her but never said anything to Reiko. I'm sure Natsume's thinking why didn't you tell her? Why didn't you tell her that you loved her as a friend and wanted to be, with her and stuff? And Natsume's like, I think Natsume also hearing this is good because it lets him know that, people he meets that want to befriend him care about him. And that's important to know because if you don't believe people care about you, then you don't have any problem. I feel like a lot of people that just ghost people and brush them off, they have fully in their mind that there's no way that person could care about me. So it won't matter or won't mean anything to them if I just leave because they won't care about me. It's fine. But the reality is a lot of times people do care about you. They do become your friends and you not being there does affect them. So maybe that's being recognized by Natsume in all of this. He's like, are you mad that I was sensing someone's most secret thoughts without their permission? And Natsume's like, no, I can't really say anything because every time I give a yokai's name back, I sense their private thoughts, so I have no right to say a word. Is it better to say what I saw or remain silent? And Natsume's like, nope, go ahead with the story. We gotta get some closure as to what started all this. And so we find out while they're telling about all of the spooky stories surrounding the town, there's a strange, violent girl who lives in the next town over. Her name is Natsume Reiko. And she's like, I remember that's where you live, so I wanted to make sure that you knew. Somebody needed to tell you. And to Reiko's credit, Reiko wanted to tell her name right there and then. To Reiko's credit, she wanted to say it right there and then. And I kind of wish she just came out and said it. I kind of wish that she would have. But then they decide that they're gonna go play a game. I like the game was tied to the rocks. At first I thought this girl was dying. I thought that this girl, that the red on her fingertips was like she was coughing up blood. She had the tuberculosis. She was suffering like a Victorian waif and she was gonna die within, the next few days. And then when she didn't show up after Reiko revealed her name, I was like, oh, this girl's all gone ahead and died. Because it's like, what, the 60s when this happened? I was like, what? No, I thought that this girl had just died and it was a big misunderstanding, which it was a big misunderstanding, but it wasn't that the girl died. So anyway, they play the game. Reiko loses thanks to the yokai, and she reveals her name. And of course, she's like, I want to be your friend. And then she says, my name's Natsume Reiko. And the thing that's so sad is that Reiko thought revealing this was going to ruin their friendship. She's like, oh, you want to be my friend? Well, now you're not going to be because nobody likes me. And Soko did not get mad. She was just like, oh, I felt like Soko was going to apologize and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that I said bad things about you, not realizing that was you that I was talking about. But she doesn't get a chance to say it because all the yokai are feeding off the negativity in the air. And the one tries to reach out and grab Soko, and Natsume, tells the yokai to get out, but it makes it sound like she's telling Soko to get out. And she's like, you don't look so good, so you should just go. And Natsume cuts back to him, and he knows all too well what all of that is like. Because he's done the exact same thing. And he knows what it would have been like. And then the yokai says, well, I thought Reiko would never come back, but she did. And Soko didn't come back for 2 more days. And I love that the one yokai is just crying because he's so sad at what happened. And she's like, you're a strange yokai. She's like, whatever. I was getting bored. And sometimes when people say, they're like, I was just bored with this anyway. I'm like, you're just projecting your sadness. So she takes him to the field of flowers. Shows him this amazing field that's so beautiful. And then she's like, wake me up when the sun sets. And he's like, well, I have no reason to do that. And she's like, that's true. I figured she wasn't going to come back. But I did have some fun. Games are the perfect way to kill time. This entire series is about a lonely girl who, through a misunderstanding, believed that every encounter she was having was going to be fleeting and that no one was going to be her friend. So she put all their names in a book and secretly bound them through a contract she didn't even fully understand. And now her grandson has to learn the value of fleeting friendships and the temporalness of time through his grandmother's misunderstandings. Okay. And the sad part is she wanted to bring Soko to see these flowers, but she was so sad. She's like, I just need to bring somebody. And she's like, let's play a game. And then that's when the yokai's like, well, Soko's the one that you wanted to bring here, right? And she's like, I don't mind. Pretty things are pretty and boring things are boring. Whether you're with someone else or all alone. It doesn't matter. But it did. And Natsume's like, no. He's like, and then I was on paper as proof that I was hers to command. And I woke her up as promised at sunset. And she thanked me and left, and I never saw her again. And it also makes sense that it was for Reiko, this one moment where, unlike Soko, where Soko, she knew Soko's name, but she had no way to record it. And so, it's something that could be forgotten over time or something that could be lost. With the Book of Friends, it was like a record of, oh no, these are my friends. I've met these people and I've had these encounters and you can't take that away from me. Oh, damn. He's like, and I never saw her again. And then the next day, Soko came back. I was like, of course, the moment she leaves, Soko's going to come back the next day. She had gotten sick. And the saddest part, which Natsume, again, knows all too well about, is that the yokai can't communicate with her. And so this yokai is left in a state of just being sad and feeling completely useless because they couldn't tell Reiko, they couldn't tell Soko, and this friendship that should have been so beautiful and grown, it just was snuffed out and suffocated. Oh. And now Natsume has to bring closure to it. That was so sad. And just Natsume looks so sad in that moment hearing this story because he's like, it shouldn't have been this way. It should not have been this way. And the thing that's the craziest about all of this is you could say that the yokai are kind of at fault for making Reiko yell out, "Don't come back," and whatever, Soko. But the reality is this entire story was not caused by yokai. It was about Reiko and Soko, these two humans, and Reiko's misunderstanding and impatience and inability to believe that someone could love her that caused all of this. And now the flip side is it's Natsume's realization, her grandson's realization, while he's in the same boat as Reiko, that actually my grandmother was wrong. People can love me. They do love me. So I don't need this book of fleeting friend encounters to know that I'm loved and to know that people value me. I don't need this, so I can give the names back because it's not needed anymore. I love finding out the Book of Friends was not intended to be a weapon. It wasn't intended to be like this exorcist tool that was being used by Reiko to control the yokai. No, it was a girl that was heartbroken because she didn't think she could have friends. And she tried to write down the names of yokai in the book because she felt more comfortable and knew she could trick a yokai and use magic with it rather than an actual human. And it all comes out. Yeah, I couldn't tell Reiko that Soko had been waiting for her either. He's like, I finally got to tell her, though, through you. Yep, and all I did was offer my name, as promised, over a human game. But true power is a terrifying thing. That childish game binds our very souls. And that's kind of the thing. It's sort of like, it reminds me of Beetlejuice, where in that movie, there's this Book of the Dead, and if you read from it, it seems like it's something very harmless, but if you don't know that it's actually like going to have these ramifications for people in the afterlife, it starts to affect them, and you don't even realize it because you're just reading from a book, which seems like just a normal thing to do. Here, I don't know if Reiko realized that by writing down that yokai's name in the book, she was sealing their fate to that book with her. I don't think she realized that once, because it's the exorcists that pointed out. The exorcists are like, oh, well, if you know a yokai's true name, you can control them. And the yokai know that. The exorcists know that. But Reiko didn't know that. She just wanted their names because it all went back to her and Soko and this friendship that fell apart through a misunderstanding. And that was the cause of it all. It wasn't her trying to control the yokai. She just wanted to know their names like her friend had wanted to know her name. And it almost also feels kind of cathartic for Reiko because Reiko's like, oh, I have your real name wrote down here. You're a yokai. You have this reputation, but I'm not judging you by that reputation. I have your name down here. See? So I'm not judging you. So it's almost like her way of trying to reverse the judgment that was passed on to her. And then Natsume's like, yep, I'll give you your name back. It's so crazy seeing the paper go to the first page instead of being in the middle of the book. It's so weird. And then, yeah. And then we see them together. But that day I wished that they could know what was inside of my mind. I wish they knew how beautiful I found those flowers. I wish the yokai had just told her. And then Natsume sees Reiko alone at the field of flowers. It was a dream she had when she was sleeping next to Soranome in the field of flowers. And you see Soko's hand reach out to grab her hand. Ah! And then Natsume saying, like, I wish you could have seen how beautiful it was. And Natsume, like, wiping his eyes because he was crying, and they don't show us that. I'm glad they don't show us Natsume crying. And Madara just being like, you know, I could go see the field of flowers, but yeah, I wish I could have seen it too. It was a field of blue flowers as far as the eye could see. I want to go there. It looks so beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Like the ocean, which we've had talks about with it being like the ocean. And wanting to see that. Oh, this episode was so good. It was so good. What a good penultimate episode. We finally got the origin of the Book of Friends somewhat. We at least know the first yokai wrote in the book, and we know why she wrote the names of the yokai in the book. We all get that now. That all makes sense. That's so good. Midori Kawa. I feel like Midori Kawa, what a long game she's played. We're finally getting to these like core answers of the series, but she's like, I'm going to make you wait until you get this far into the series to find these things out, because you needed to. You needed to, because you needed to see Natsume go on this journey before he was ready to find out about his grandmother, what he's finding out about her. So I love it. Now we just need to find out about the daughter and the grandpa, and I'll be happy. Because we've had a little bit with Natsume's dad, right? He seems like a good chap. So yeah, we've got next week. Next week is the season finale. And then I'm going to be spending a week looking at the manga, etc. that's going to cover season 7. So that's going to be fun. That's probably going to be a big video because there's probably going to be a lot to cover. So I need to start doing my research. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I look forward to hearing your comments and impressions of this episode down below. But I'll see you all next week with the season 7 finale of Natsume's Book of Friends. Bye!